Study their playbook. That's why we make all the references publicly available, bibliography, every single show, and most of them are leftist sources, so you know what they're saying. The left isolates themselves. We spoke about this with Razor Fist last week.
Yeah.
We were coming up on YouTube, like I started in 2008, 2009, and even when him and I would do interviews, maybe 2014, 2015, you'd run into a leftist, they'd have pretty airtight arguments. Like it would be a back and forth. Now it's like the left has gotten so lazy, they don't even know where to go, or you prepare for something that never really transpires, because their mindset is, if you disagree, just don't listen. Don't listen to them.
Yes.
Don't understand their arguments.
Yes.
Don't try and don't steel man them. Just shut them off. And then when faced with reality, like a national election, they don't know what to do.
No.
I really think that these guys are transphobic. Like the entire episode was highlighting the absurdity of men and women's sports.
Yeah.
Which everybody's pretty much on board with.
Yeah, I think that the Trey Parker and Matt Stone, I think they're pretty liberal guys.
Yes.
But
right now, I personally have never seen the Democratic Party in worse position. I've never seen a party, so whether it's Democrats or Republicans, and we've seen the Republican Party in very bad shape over the years, and we've seen the Democratic Party in bad shape. I've never seen a major political party in as bad of shape as the Democrats are right now. The Democrats are in fucking horrible shape. And they're only making it worse every single day. And they're in this position because of one man named Donald J. Trump.
They're libertarian. They're more libertarian.
Okay. But they also recognize that there is a problem in society where you're not allowed to say certain things, and you're not allowed to talk about certain things.
Right.
You're
The
not allowed
fuck
to
you
actually
talking
analyze
about?
a situation that could be actually dangerous just because we want to protect the feelings of one marginalized person.
Right. Yeah. No. And I think they have they sort of have the streak of being anti-authority no matter what, and so now they would seem more liberal because those in power they view as conservative. And same thing when you look back at Barack Obama, or even when George Bush was president, they kind of went after the left for the constant beating of the same drum. So they are equal opportunity offenders, and I think they're a national treasure.
They didn't do Biden though. I don't know what's up with that.
They didn't do Biden.
I found that out recently because I said that online. I said they make fun of everybody. Everyone was like, they didn't make fun of Biden. I didn't make fun of Biden. I was like, oh, okay.
It is weird. It was a blind spot.
It is weird.
For
Maybe
sure.
they felt like it was punching down.
Maybe they did.
Elder abuse.
Supposed to
I don't
make
know.
fun of
Maybe
retarded
headlines we don't know about.
Let's go to other people.
Well,
who are, right now, of course, they just had Satan, and
They absolutely stayed away from Biden because of politics, like 100%. Like, I mean, there's many ways you could have made fun of Biden, and they don't not make fun of people because of mental illness or how old they are or whatever. They've never done that. So it's clear why they stayed away from Biden. Okay, 100%. And it is what it is. I take that as a sign to show that Biden was never even that relevant. He just wasn't. Trump is the culture.
they've done things that many people would consider sacrilegious against Christians. Christians haven't really done much. They're like, maybe I won't watch it, or I'll skip that episode. Contrast that with Muhammad, again, another marginalized community that the left has created an unholy alliance with. The Revolution Muslim group said that South Park's creators were probably going to, they said, we'll probably wind up like Theo Van Gogh, who was killed, by the way, for making a film critical of Islam. That's just a threat. And they also said,
what is this fucking faggot retard? Can't find the goddamn fucking stream like a dumb fucking retard.
Comedy Central tried to censor the episode. And they said, well, then I guess you just put a censor bar over Muhammad because we can have Satan and Jesus on here and do all kinds. And you never censored it before.
Yeah.
So whether you like what they did or not, you do have to appreciate that these guys are pioneers, and you need those people out there. Otherwise, you end up with the censorship of everybody. And what's your take right now on the direction of South Park? Do you still watch?
I personally, and we'll leave it right there, but I don't think South Park is anywhere near where it used to be. It can still have funny moments, things like that, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. Dynas with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you. Dorkman on Rumble with 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much for the 10 gifties on Rumble. Snooty Mims for 20 on Rumble. Says Dorkman, 20K Rain Man, Clancy Damon, TXC Cam, Steven Strange, A Complete Random, Dude Bro, Brosif 420. Let's see, is that Janinator? So Hugo Lovas, what is it? God, your screen names on Rumble are fucking crazy, guys. Hugo Lavaza, Sunflower Mad, Psychopath Hat. I don't know what this RANKIN68 Badasses here. Hail 199. Fucking hell. I struggled through that one. That was bad. That was Beardo level bad. Thank you, Snooty Mims. Snooty Mims, what Snooty Mims does is always send super chats and mentions all of the badasses in the chat. Always highlighting other channels over on Rumble, always looking out for people. And he doesn't just do this in my streams. He does this in other people's streams as well. Always looking out for people. It's fucking awesome. So, good stuff. So shout out to Snooty Mims. And he also, another 5, says Bernie54, Dan the Man, 19961, Darth, is it Roshus? All hard as nails. Hail the 199. Hail Geeks and Gamers. Hail Beardo. Lol. Hail chat. There we go. Got through that one. Thank you, Snooty Mims. David Phillips says, Jeremy, did you see that Superman Dean Cain joined ICE? I did, and it's fucking awesome. So hell yeah, man. I did see that. And Dean Cain, man, could you, dude? I mean, let's be real. If I were an illegal immigrant in the United States right now, it would be an honor to be arrested by Superman. Like, do you know how cool of a story that would be if you're like, I got arrested by Superman? That is worth it. That would be an honor. You could go back and you could tell all of your friends and family in your foreign language or whatever that you got arrested by Superman. How fucking cool is that? The Good White says, make Beardo join ICE. Simpin on Simpcast says, Beardo can play as the WNBA skin a green dildo. Objectively, a cat says, not sure why anyone is surprised about South Park crap. The only time they ever directly apologized was to climate change grifter Al Gore. The Al Gore stuff was fantastic. It really was. I mean, look, on that note about what I said about Trump, I mean, listen to our favorite pollster, and you know he's definitely familiar with polls, Frank Luntz, and this is what they're saying about the Trump second term.
If you voted for Donald Trump, this is exactly, almost to the letter, what you wanted. You didn't mind the anger, you didn't conflict between the Republicans and the Democrats. What you wanted was to make a border safe and secure, which they've done. What you wanted were tax cuts, which he's done. What you wanted was cuts to spending, which he's done. Element after element, he delivered exactly what he said he was going to do, and that's why his own voters believe that this has been an incredibly successful presidency.
It has. It has been unbelievable the first 6 months. Absolutely incredible. And you know, I feel like within the world of like Twitter and social media, that message has gotten really kind of you know, muddy. But bottom line is yeah, it's been a unbelievable first 6 months for the Trump administration, and we're not slowing down, and we wouldn't expect Trump to slow down.
Whoa!
You know,
okay, you want me to play the podcast?
I want you to not suck at League of Legends,
Shut your fucking faggot mouth. I love how I can go 23-0 and you're like, oh, this guy's faded.
Nah, you suck.
This guy's faded.
As long as you play as that faggot Yasue, you're fucking shit.
This guy's faded.
Yeah, you are feeding, dude. You're fucking feeding an entire buffet. How shit you are, you fucking piece of shit.
You know, yeah, he's getting some kickback on certain things. These radical judges continue
guys,
things that he's trying to accomplish. I mean, just like right here, a federal judge has just halted further construction on Alligator Alcatraz due to environmental concerns. Get the fuck out of here! Like like. He keeps having to deal with this shit over and over. Again.
Would you rather me play League or the racing game?
Good view right there.
League.
But anyway,
It's more entertaining watching a shit player play a game than
Nice, dude.
that fucking crap. So yeah, League.
This is fucking retarded. And he keeps having to deal with
This guy fucking tells me to play a Blitzcrank jungle. And
that's the bigger
calling me
problem
shit
right
at the
there.
game.
Is how
Fucking
many things
retard.
he's trying to block that Trump is trying to get accomplished. Now, we had DeSantis. I believe DeSantis made a statement on this. If I can find it. I think DeSantis says, no, F that. Keep going. Let's see if I can find that. On that note, too, in terms of like the cultural shift, and I'll see if I can find that thing that DeSantis said, but this is something that you would not have seen a year ago. And this is something you wouldn't have seen if Kamala won. We are done with cancel culture. All right? So right here, Paul Heyman of WWE was asked about Brock Lesnar's return because we saw a lot of mentally ill people trying to cancel Brock Lesnar and his return because of his name being mentioned in the Vince McMahon lawsuit. Paul Heyman says he's going to be here and you ain't going to be able to cancel him. These types of things were not said a year ago. Nobody was willing to sit there and just point blank go after cancel culture people and go, he's going to be here and you're not going to cancel him. We don't give a fuck what you think. That is happening because Donald Trump has changed everything. Lesnar, Janelle, WrestleMania 42. Yes, 100%, Cam, man. The IWC is retarded. And yeah, Janelle Grant versus Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 42. Let's make that happen. That would be pretty great.
Damn, dog.
About Russia was paying Islamists in the Middle East to kill Americans. They were putting a bounty on the heads of American soldiers. Now, if you think at that time, what do they want me to think? They want me to be anti-Russia. They want me to think Trump is being soft on Russia. So if the average reader is reading this and not thinking too much, they're going to say, Trump is soft on Russia. He needs to be harder.
Right.
That's a way for the New York Times to pressure the Trump administration to be more tough on Russia. They're trying to incite the population to have a certain opinion and demand that he has a certain foreign policy posture. And so it's not necessarily, you know, you go to a certain obscure website that has all the real information.
Right.
It's more like you just kind of need to have a certain sense and a certain background knowledge to see what is the intention of the mainstream media, to kind of read between the lines and understand it's a regulated press.
Yeah. So when you do that, though, you don't think you have biases?
This fucking faggot
your sort of
retard doesn't even
assumptions
know
of,
what he's doing.
okay, what
Shut
is the
your
real thing?
fucking mouth.
I do.
Shut
I think
your
everybody
cunt.
has a bias, but
Shut your fucking mouth.
I try my best to be objective. I try my best. That's why I read something like the New York Times, or I read the institutional press. I read the Israeli press, for that matter.
Yeah.
You know, for all I get heat, the big thing, people say I'm anti-Semitic. I read the Jerusalem Post. I read the Times of Israel every day, you know, to get every side of the equation.
Why do you think, though? What is the biggest reason is why?
What did I say? What did I say? Shut your fucking mouth.
Shut your cunt mouth.
Well, it's just like everything else. There was a time, which I think we're now emerging out of, thankfully. You can call it wokeness, you can call it political correctness. But there was this time of immense sensitivity for maybe 10, 15, 20 years in the country where if you say anything that is against the grain on race, on Jews, on women, on homosexuals, on transgenders. You get called these names: racist, sexist, anti-Semite, Islamophobe, homophobe. And, you know, I got started really at the peak of that period in 2017, at the height of that, like, anti-Trump hysteria. People forget even what it was like. Now it kind of goes without saying, the things you hear on Joe Rogan, the things you hear from Theo Von, Shane Gillis, you say they would have never gotten away with that 10 years ago. So I consider myself to be relatively moderate, and I know you would have to push back. I have a provocative sense of humor. I'm pretty bombastic, but I consider myself moderate.
Yeah, this is the one thing about you that, like, because I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen, like, the Hitler comments, the when you say the N-word jokingly, and I see it and I think, like, not that all those things are so bad, but to the majority of people who are, like, looking at you from the outside and not knowing enough, they're gonna immediately sort of disavow you.
Right.
So, like, I was talking to Dan about this too. Like, a lot of the stuff he says, he'll tweet a lot of stuff, and I'm not saying whether it's true or untrue or false or not, but it can come across to the majority who are like, this just seems like a hateful individual because they're saying this, because they're willingly saying that, or they're joking about that. And I'm not saying I'm in the right all the time. I joke about stupid all the time. Sometimes I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't say that. Is there anything that you wish you didn't say, or you didn't sort of transverse the way that you have?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things where after the show, I sort of immediately regret it, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have. Yeah, I went a little too hard here. And you know how it is when you're a content creator, even a comedian. I consider myself something like a comedian. I make a lot of jokes. My show's very funny. And I think any comedian will tell you, especially when you're doing it improv, when you're doing it without a script, and you don't have that time to kind of think about it, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you do a joke and it doesn't land. It doesn't work. It's too far. It has the wrong tone, maybe. Yeah. And so I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I do get what you're saying, but a big part of what I do that I think a lot of people don't realize, when I got started at the age of 18, there are these, like, nonprofit groups like the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC, Right Wing Watch, which is under People for the American Way. There are these, and it's not to make excuses, but this is how it works. You do have these left-wing nonprofits. They're paid by the left or various billionaires, and their job, it's literally they will have interns and people on the payroll that watch my show every single night as a left-wing person or someone that disagrees with me, and they will literally clip. And I'm sure you know, even this is how it works in media in general. Anything that sounds bad, even if it's a joke, even if there's bigger context, they will take the 10-second clip and they say, oh, the white nationalist hater is at it again. He just said this, and deprived of the context of the tone, if it's a joke. Over 10 years, I do a show every night. You collect enough of those 10-second clips, you can paint a picture of somebody where it's like, this is a lunatic, this is a raving maniac. And a lot of people don't realize this is a political operation that gets paid to create these clips for the purpose of reputational destruction. And I decided from an early age, I'm not playing games. I'm not going to be guarded all the time and manage everything. I hope this doesn't sound bad in a 5-second clip. I said I'm going to be myself, and I always thought eventually people will watch the show and they'll figure out who I really am. But that is a very dishonest aspect of the industry.
Yeah. I mean, that even outside of your specific political sphere, that happens on the internet. Period. For creators, for anything, whether it's some relationship drama or some parasocial shit where they're like, oh, this is happening. I mean, the most popular thing I think recently is like the live streams. They'll get a clip and they'll put, and this is not specific to any single person, but they'll put like a caption over a video where it's like just to create sensationalism of a situation that isn't actually that sensational. But I guess I'm kind of curious from you, do you, as you do your show or as you say certain things, are you aware, I consider you a very smart individual, are you aware of the sensationalness where you're also adding fuel to that? Because you know that that's a real thing that's going to happen regardless. Are you also willfully doing that, knowing that
Absolutely. Oh, I'm baiting them all the time. And actually, early on, I think I did that a lot more when I was younger than I do now. I think I'm a little more mature, I'm a little more disciplined, but when I was younger, and it was a different ecosystem, you almost had to bait them because we were, and by we I mean the far right, conservatives, we were being censored and even shadow banned. We were being suppressed. And so at that time, it's like the only way to break out, especially for me, because I wasn't getting on Fox News. I wasn't getting on. Usually that's the program. If you're a conservative, you get the interview spot on Fox, on Blaze, on Daily Wire. I was blacklisted from everything and censored. So it's like the only way to break containment was to be outrageous. And so I'm not going to lie, I absolutely baited it, but the overriding priority for me always is just to try and be funny, to try and be entertaining and provocative and funny. And some people look at me and say, well, you're kind of cynically baiting people and you're a provocateur. I don't think I'm a provocateur. I think that I try to be challenging and funny, and by essence, that is provocative. If you try to be funny and you're not provocative, to me that comes across as safe and stale and boring and not fresh. The things that are fresh and exciting and outrageous, they tend to be provocative. The stuff that people say, it's a guilty pleasure. They're like, I hate that I'm laughing at this, but it's so funny. I love that stuff. So that was always my goal.
I get it. It's just, I think in your sphere, like your ecosystem of political commentating, everyone going into it or watching or consuming the content or seeing you speak about, you know, these big issues, geopolitical things, they're looking at you more so, I think, through that lens and not through the lens of a comedian. So when the comedy comes in, they're like, is this guy gonna hate this or hate that or hate those people, hate these people? I think that's how it can come across. So in my opinion, would then lessen your ability to reach a whole group of people that would be more apt to listen to you than they are because there's the jokes.
Right.
But at the same time, I can't tell you how they should make content and how to use content. But I think that's a large part of it, because then, like we were talking earlier, the groups that are there set out to sort of be like, hey, this is a bad guy, don't listen to him, essentially.
Right.
You know, disavow him. It makes their job way easier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would just say that, you know, just a life philosophy is I just tend to be a free thinker. Yeah. And I think everybody considers themselves a free thinker, but I think that the moment that you start to tell yourself, I have to be on guard, I have to watch what I say, I think it's kind of all or nothing. You're either going to be that way and you're going to be very controlled and very intentional and you're going to be very almost calculated and strategic, or you're just going to let it fly and you're going to be yourself and you kind of let the chips fall where they will. And I guess it's a matter, it really is like a fundamental life philosophy. I always thought, yeah, people are going to hate me, people are going to hate this, they're going to hate what I'm about to say. But that's also a big part of changing people's minds. I'm a big believer in, you almost have to kind of shock people out of the old ways of thinking. I'm not a believer in this sort of, it's a big debate that goes on the right wing. Do you favor an incremental approach? Do you kind of drip feed and, you know, leave a crumb trail where people can kind of find their way? Or do you punch them in the face, you know, metaphorically, and say, this is the truth, it's outrageous, it's raw, and at first people are appalled about it, and then they're on your side. You know, you sort of like you plant the seed. And being entertaining, I think,
dog, can I ask you a question, dog?
Too seriously, it almost plays worse.
It's a hypothetical.
Very serious. People start to say, this guy is evil.
You know how you asked me about
sociopath menace.
how much more you should get, like in terms of money, if the probability is, I guess, like lower or whatever. I guess it's kind of the same, but it's definitely different. You remember Breaking Bad, like season 5, where it's fucking Mr. White, Jesse, and Mike. They're like trying to, they steal the fucking, like, the shit from the train, right? Like the fucking methylamine or whatever. The scenario was, they could fucking make like hundreds of millions of dollars, but I think Jesse and Mike, they wanted to fucking drop out. They just wanted out of the business, so they found a buyer who would buy the methylamine for $5 million each. So they would get $5 million each. Would you take that deal? Like, if you could get it tomorrow, if you could get the money like tomorrow, so $5 million tomorrow, or
so what? Quicker, but less money.
But less money, but it's like you don't have the risk of getting caught by the police because you're not in possession of it anymore.
As long as we can make sure that it went smoothly, yeah. If it makes it easier and less, well, it's quicker, less money, but there's less chance that you get caught.
Yeah, but it's still $5 million, right? It's still. Okay, it's obviously way less, but it's still a shit ton of money.
So what's the other option though?
The other option is hold on and try to like. This assumes you can fucking like cook it into like a much more valuable drug or whatever. And let's say you get like 100 million. If you sell it over time, like it's not gonna be all at once. You'd have to cook the entire fucking thing and then sell it over time, and then eventually it'll be 100 million. But in that time, you're risking going to jail for basically your life, right?
That's actually a good fucking, a really hard hypothetical. I'd still say the lower, just because if you have a big likelihood of getting caught, then there's no point.
Yeah. What would you do with $5 million though?
Some days I forget what lies behind
the don't know. Well, I guess I would try to do it more than once, right? Or is that the only chance I got?
No. So it's like one and done. Like you either sell the methylamine, get your $5 million. The other scenario is you hold on to it and you cook it or whatever to make the valuable drug, and then sell it at a higher price. And then if you were to cook all of it, it'd be worth $100 million.
The fact that it's a one and done, and I'll never get the chance to get do that again, that's more enticing.
The cooking it?
Yeah.
between uncertainty and fear, the Azakani prowl. Forgiveness is
Shut down.
Why are they trying to fight that, bro?
Turret plating will soon fall.
can attract the Azakani.
It goes
Maybe
against,
it's backfiring.
yeah, so I'm like, you know, for whatever that's worth, it's just, I think you got yourself there somehow, right? And maybe it's certain comments you've made, like, you know, you talk about, people say, oh, you're this white nationalist. Like, are you a white supremacist?
No, I don't consider myself. I'm a believer in race. I think that race is real.
Yeah.
You know, I think that there's white people and black people, and that it's real and it means something to us.
Yeah.
But I'm a Catholic, so I think that we're all created equal by God.
Right. And so I guess kind of getting into this, your political sort of idea of what you want America to really look like. You want it to be more Catholic. You want it to be more Catholic driven, more Catholic sort of. I don't know if the right word is owned. But that's where you're coming. That's where like a lot of your messaging comes from.
Yeah, I want it to be more Christian, and I'm Catholic, so in particular Catholic. And I think it needs to be more white. I do think it needs to be more European. I think that, you know, and I get this comment a lot. People say, well, you're Mexican. Your last name is Fuentes. And it's true. My father is half Mexican. His father's 100% Mexican. We've always had black people in this country, Hispanics, Asians, going back hundreds of years. But we've had like 50 million immigrants come in 30 years. And I'm sitting here looking at a city like LA, or like Chicago or New York, and I'm saying, when is enough enough? You know, we've had 50, 60 million people.
That's my question to you is, how do you even say when enough is enough? Like how, on your side, I understand your perspective, but where is it for you or for me or for anyone to say this is enough? Because this country also was founded on that basis of immigrants.
What brings you to East Texas?
Sophie just moved here from Boston.
Hi, girl.
Hi, new girl.
You have no idea what these people are capable of.
If police ask, it was just us here that night.
Well, I would push back on that a little bit. I would say that when the country was founded, it was almost all English people. It was almost all Northern Europeans, and almost all Protestants too. So it was ethnically homogeneous, racially homogeneous, religiously and culturally homogeneous. On all four of those cylinders, you had uniformity. And then you're right. In the 19th century, it was no longer ethnically homogeneous because Germans and Southern Europeans and
Italians.
I'm Italian too. I'm half Italian. Yeah, we started coming in, and then in the turn of or I guess midway through the last century, then other races started coming in with other religions, and I guess the country has changed over time. There's no disputing that, and the changes are baked in. We're never going back in some sense, and I don't think it's even possible. But when you say it's enough is when they no longer are assimilated. When you start to feel like what America is, it starts to become uncertain. Does it mean speaking English? Does it mean being Christian? Does it mean having certain European values or constitutional values for that matter? A lot of the people coming in, they contest these things. And so you look at a city like LA where, you know, a few weeks ago, they're waving the Mexican flag, burning cars, protesting that illegals are being deported. You say, is this a free-for-all or is this a country? Or even in Texas, they want to build like a giant Muslim community center where people say there's going to be like Sharia law. There's going to be a giant mosque in the middle of it. Or in other places, they build a giant Hindu temple with huge statues. And you say, is America a whole? Is it a country? Or is it a patchwork of all these grafted nationalities where they kind of set up little India, little Somalia, Minnesota, little Mexico? And I think it's kind of undermining our national coherence.
But who is the side?
Well, ultimately, the people of the country, you know? I mean, we have a system where people vote. And I think that that's really what the Trump election was about. I think in 16 and 20, and even in some sense in 24, it was a referendum on what do we want America to be? Because Hillary Clinton said, forward, it's going to be the future is female and more diversity and more wokeness and more gayness and more everything. And Trump said, no, we're in a sense going back. We're making America great again. There's like this recurrence. And I think that was a big referendum. The country said, we want the country to kind of be a little more conservative. We don't want to go so fast, so forward, and keep going in that same progressive direction.
But do you think that means that there just needs to be no inclusion of all those other things, you know, the mosque, these other things that we mentioned couldn't exist?
No, absolutely not. And I have a kind of complicated view on this. America has 350 million people. We're one of the most populous, one of the biggest countries, and we're, in a sense, no longer a republic, or even some would say, strictly speaking, a nation. Some say we're past that. We're really more, when you think about it, like Russia or like China, in the sense that we are a multi-ethnic, multi-religious empire. And so a country like Russia, they have a lot of Muslims living in Russia. They have a lot of Asians living in Russia. When you think of a Russian, you think of a Slavic, ethnically Russian, Eastern Orthodox person. Nevertheless, Chechens and Dagestanis and Tatars and others are part of Russian identity. They're just on the periphery. Same thing in China. When you think of China, you think of a Han, ethnically Chinese person that speaks Cantonese or something like that. But you have Mongolians, Uyghurs, you have a lot of diversity in China. I think America can be the same way. We can be America with a black minority, which we always have had. We can be America with a large Hispanic minority. But the question is, if diversity goes too far, eventually America becomes nothing. Without that demographic core, without that monoculture that you could say America is rock and roll, hot dogs, baseball, red, white, and blue. In 50 years, is America going to be highlight and soccer and cricket and, and people are speaking all these different languages? I'm concerned about preserving that ethnic core. So we can be America with diversity. We just can't have so much diversity that there's no longer an America.
I see what you're saying. I guess my thought, like when I hear that is, you talk about the future and like where it all goes. At some point, I mean, it seems like we're just going to be part human, part cyborg. Excuse me, cyborg, right? Part human, part machine. Overall, not even speaking just America straight. And I guess I understand the ideas. It's just like, when I think about it, who's deciding that, right? Like, why? Because, okay, we'll get into this to talk about the conflict in Gaza and Israel stuff. Because when I have this whole conversation, I think about this, I go, well, what about what we did to the fucking Indians? What about what we did to the indigenous people? You listen to what a lot of people today would say Israel to people in Palestine. It's like removing these people from this area, right? All these things. And we essentially did that, took this space here. So I sometimes have this conversation with people, a lot of times off camera, I'm like, at what point do we decide that it's not okay anymore? And I don't think killing, murdering people, removing people from a country, removing people from an area is ever okay. Mm-hmm. But America was also founded on that. Mm-hmm. So at what point are we discerning and saying that, like, okay, now is like, for example, if we speak about Israel and that whole conflict in Gaza, that's not okay. I do think it's not okay. I don't think it's right. Mm-hmm. At the same time, our country was also founded on a similar action. We came in and we said, speak our language, this is our religion, there's a lot of diseases because the immune system didn't jive with ours, and we basically took this country. Right. And then we made it what we're talking about right now. So like, when I hear it from like a really like bird's eye perspective, like, I don't have skin in all these games. I'm an American. Mm-hmm. I love America. At the same time, I can look at it and say, well, it was founded on the same principles that, we're
what do you think of the podcast, dog?
That's why we exist here.
Right.
So when is it right and when is it wrong?
Well, I would say that in terms of when I evaluate right and wrong, it comes down to individual actions, because I understand what you're saying, which is that, and I'm actually even sympathetic to it. When you look at what the Israelis are saying, in a certain sense, in a narrow sense, you can understand where they're coming from, which is that they were stateless. The Jews were without a country for 2,000 years. They were in that land, they were expelled, and then they were a minority in Europe and in all these other places. And because they were a minority, because they lacked power, they were abused. And so they were subject to the Inquisition and the pogroms and the Pale Settlement and the Holocaust ultimately and all these things. And that was the basis for Zionism, which is we need a country of our own. Now, easier said than done, because it turns out all the countries are taken, so you have to settle one. And they came into the Mandate of Palestine, and they fought with the Palestinians, and they declared independence. We went through the whole history. But needless to say, they're sort of throwing elbows and jockeying to try and get comfortable in the Middle East, in a region that doesn't want them there. But the question becomes, how do you conduct the war? And I would point to something very simple. So in Gaza, they've destroyed all the infrastructure, like literally all of it. All the buildings, all the roads, hospitals, schools. It's intentional that they're doing that. And even when you look at how they're killing people, a veteran, a Green Beret, just came back the other day and said they're using Palestinians going to these aid distribution sites for target practice. So these people that are starving to death are going to get their food and water from these distribution sites, and they're getting shot by the IDF. Defenseless, vulnerable people that are hungry. Hamas isn't even launching rockets anymore. They have no ability to counterattack. And you say, the Israelis will say, well, it's a war. That's what happens in a war. When you fight, people die. But
you probably know Vistaprint for business cards, but did you know we print everything you need to get your brand in front of your fans? We print banners and signs that help your business stand out. We print postcards and flyers that get people talking. And we print must-have merch like tote bags, t-shirts, and water bottles.
Fucking hell.
Or if you thousands, we print on everything so that customers can go from noticing your brand to falling in love with it. Right now, new customers can get 20% off with code NEW20. Because if you need it, we print it at Vistaprint.ca.
in Iran, you can see in the war in June, they will literally target a single apartment with a drone strike. It's so precise, it's so targeted. They're doing assassination strikes with drones. They will hit one apartment. Forget about the whole building and the whole city. And so if you can detonate pagers and radios, if you can blow up one apartment, if you're the most sophisticated military with precision-guided munitions, how are you accidentally destroying 90% of the buildings and committing 100,000 civilian casualties and shooting children and people getting aid? At that point, it's intentional. And you look at what they say, which is, this is an ethnic cleansing. They say, we want all these people out of the land. Now, there's an argument to be made about how do you carry that out. I mean, what is the solution to Israel-Palestine? But you know the solution is not starving children to death and shooting innocent people that are defenseless and getting aid, blowing up their homes so they have nowhere to go. You know that's wrong. So that's where I come at it from. You can kind of get, the Israelis have a case to make that this is not an ideal living situation for them. At the same time, we all have moral responsibility, especially now.
Yeah, the one thing I'll get on Twitter and I'll see just the reactions to this. So, like, even from like a lot of our, I don't know if they're Congress people or senators, they got that like great check mark. And I see them and they're just like almost like hurrahing on this death of these innocent people, as if like, well, if they wanted to stop, then they would, Hamas would just stop.
Right.
And it always seems to be like a deflection, because I'm like, but like you said, should it just be, well, they should just stop?
An enemy has been
and I see it and I'm like, that's just like complete void of humanity. Because what is this child supposed to do? Like, how are they supposed to rise up and be like, the 6-year-old be like, Hamas, please stop. Like,
Right.
how does that work? And then my perspective shifts and I go, kind of like what you said, speaking of Israel, the precision, how much intelligence, and even what we're told as far as Israel being, our greatest ally, in the sense that they have this like superior intelligence and the superior military, and have a lot of our military from us. Then you go like, it's almost like as if the United States, with its superior power and military expertise and like the craziest intelligence, would be like bombing Chicago, and then being like, oh, they should just figure it out. And it kind of makes me question, I see these things and be like, well, this was a mistake and that was a mistake. At the same time, we're told that they have the best intelligence. So how do you have this level of intelligence and this level of power, and you still make these mistakes, and you still do these things, and you still just on the other side, right? Without being able to come to sort of like conclusion and like, peace agreement or an actual ceasefire and stopping this, or how do we get those people out of there in a way that they're not being used as, human shields or whatever they're saying? And then I'll see the tweets of these like people in our government just being like, fuck them, they should just get back the hostages and get Hamas out.
Right.
Like it feels helpless.
It does, and what's evil about it is that collective guilt, where they say, Hamas attacked us, every 2 million people are now guilty, and not only are they guilty, but they get the death penalty. Hamas did this attack, and they believe it was perpetrated by 25,000 people. they say, well, now 2 million people are effectively sentenced to death. Everything is justified against them, whether they're armed or unarmed, whether they're men or women, whether they're adults or children. They're all guilty, and they're all going to die for it in the most cruel way. They're starving them out. Like there's now over 100 deaths from famine. And these are pictures that are coming out. But you don't see pictures like that coming out of Iraq or Afghanistan or any of the wars we've been involved in out of Ukraine. This is unique to this conflict where they've shut down all the food, all the water. And you realize it's intentional. And what the Israelis do is they just hide behind this narrative about, well, Hamas attacked us first. Does that mean you have no moral responsibility? I think everybody recognizes in a hostage situation, in any situation involving a soft target, you have moral responsibility, especially when you're the more powerful entity. Israel's a nuclear power. They have a nuclear arsenal. They've got modern fighter jets. They've got modern precision-guided missiles, a standing army, a country. The Palestinians have rockets, these tiny rockets. There's 20,000 of them. They don't have a government. They don't even have a state. And people say there's any kind of parity here. There's any kind of equality between these two regimes. Even when you're fighting an insurrection, you have culpability. But, and this is what I point out on my show to take it a step further. A lot of leftists will criticize the conduct of the Israeli government. And they'll say, it's a racist government. They'll say it's a settler colonialist government. It's capitalist. That's why they're evil. I would contend it is on some level because they are not Christian. Because Netanyahu gave a speech last year and he said that the Palestinians are Amalek. Amalek is a biblical term. It refers to a story in the Old Testament where the Israelites wipe out an entire race. They're called the Amalekites. And Yahweh tells them, kill all the women, all the children, murder all of them, genocide them so their bloodline stops. That's the language Netanyahu uses, which is literally,
those are his own words.
He said they're Amalek, yes. And that's a reference to that Bible story. And if you read anything about the Israeli government, anything even about Talmudic Judaism, what they say is, we don't love our enemies. They say that the non-Jews, we don't even consider them human. They don't have souls. They don't have moral culpability. They say, and we have very little regard for their lives.
Is the Talmud, though, is that their governing sort of book, or is it the Torah?
That is their governance. So the Torah is the Hebrew Bible. And technically, the Talmud is part of the Torah. Torah means teaching. So you have the written Torah, which is the Hebrew Bible. Then you have what is called the oral Torah, which is a tradition that was passed down orally. Now, the basis of Judaism is the 613 commandments in the Bible. So there's the 10 commandments that are famous, but there are other commandments about clothing, about diet, about all these other things. You know, when you think about Jewish people, they're very litigious about how they cut their hair, about if they can mix fabrics, about how they wash their hands, if they can mix meat and dairy. So they have 613 commandments. That is what you would call the written Torah. The oral Torah is how they interpret and apply those. 613 is not enough to govern every facet of life. So what the rabbis do is they have to interpret how they apply. That's what you call the Talmud. And the Talmud it's basically rabbis debating each other about how we interpret those commandments. And it's been refined and rewritten over thousands of years. But that is the basis of Jewish law. It's those written commandments and the oral application of them. That constitutes the whole of Jewish law. So it is the Torah also.
Because I feel like as I've talked to Jewish people about the Talmud, and they sort of dismiss it as if it's not the main governance of like their religion.
It is, though. Any Jewish student who goes to a yeshiva or a Jewish school, that's like Ben Shapiro, he studies the Talmud. The Talmudic Judaism, that is the Judaism of today. Without it, you can't interpret Jewish law.
And so your conclusion, your assumption is that if it wasn't, if they were Christian or if they were Catholic, it wouldn't be like that?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it wouldn't be like that, but in principle, you could oppose it. Because what a Christian says is love your enemy, turn the other cheek, pray for your enemy. Because we believe that everybody is a child of God. We believe, contrary to the Jews, Christianity is a universal religion, meaning that all someone has to do as a Catholic, we believe, is profess a belief in Jesus Christ, get baptized, be confirmed into the church. Anyone can be a Catholic. Jews do not believe that. Jews believe that you can only be a Jew
If you're born into it, yeah, right.
by the matrilineal line, matrilineally by the mother. And so Christians then say we forgive the enemy. You know, the golden commandment is treat your neighbor like yourself and forgive your enemy. And so I think that if you had a Christian government prosecuting this war, someone could credibly say, this is contrary to our religion.
So, okay, so I'm not gonna, obviously, I gotta kind of contest a little bit this idea, right? And the reason being is that when I think about all of these issues and I think about just the world in general, I don't know if could it be assumptive that it's just because of a religion? Because we can look at Catholicism, Christianity, like how much stuff have we done that's fucked up? Like we talk about what we did over here, coming to America, speak our language. This is your religion now. That's, oh, you worship the earth and the ground and the seasons, and that's wrong, this is right. So that concept, we also did that in the name of God, in the name of Catholicism, to a whole group of people. So when you say this, like I hear it and I could understand why you think that based on their teachings, but at the same time, we believe the same things that you're talking about now then, but we still murdered a bunch of people for our, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, and that's why I say it wouldn't make it impossible. That's why I was careful to say you could credibly say in principle, if a Christian government were doing what they're doing, you could point to the letter of the law and say this is wrong. Because you're right, Christian regimes have done bad things in the past. But I think a big reason why things have gotten better, when you say, you know, why was it that hundreds of years ago there was conquest, and how can you say the laws of conquest are no longer allowed today? You know, that it's wrong. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If it was right for us to do it, why is it not right for the Israelis to do it? I would say that part of the reason why things have gotten better over time, why there are now laws of war and a right to protect, why there are, you know, we look at what's happening in Israel, people say this is wrong. I think a big part of it is because of Christianity. I mean, let's not pretend it was the Christian West which evangelized the world. I mean, yes, there was colonialism all around the world, but also there were missionaries that evangelized the indigenous people. When the Europeans came to this continent, there was human sacrifice, there was cannibalism, and it was, contrary to what people believe, it was widespread because the indigenous people in particular here, they couldn't get protein because they ate so much corn. Like a lot of it was because of their diet, there were a lot of problems with that. Cannibalism was a huge part of their culture. Human sacrifice, child sacrifice. And so, yes, we brought smallpox, and yes, we brought with us imperialism, which had a cultural expression as well, but we also made them Christian. And same thing in Africa, and same thing in Asia.
So you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. But the idea that I'm speaking to is, at what point is it okay for someone to implement or to, you know, force their beliefs onto another person, and at what point is it not okay? When is it okay? When is it not okay? Because you said they come and they evangelize these people, right? What does that mean? It means make them apart, believe what we believe.
Right.
Like what I'm saying is, how are we determining as humans when that's right and wrong? Like you're sitting in this position and I'm having this conversation right now today. We're talking about the past and we're talking about what's occurring. But at the same time, what I'm getting at is that it's still a human thing where how are we discerning that now is okay and then it wasn't, or now it's not okay, but then it was? Because I hear what you're saying.
Right.
But it's still going in the circle of like, well, we made it better, but we made it better for us.
I think we made it better for the whole world.
But do you think the indigenous people? Do you think the people who were here before, like, they made it better for me? They killed them.
I think but there's a survivorship bias there, isn't there? In the sense that the people that were killed by cannibalism and human sacrifice, they're not around today to say.
Yeah, but
I'm sure they would think it's better.
But I'm saying the people that we came and killed because they didn't like want to join us because they like their way of life. They like the way that they live. They like the things that they believed in or worshiped or thought were right at that time.
Right.
Like that was their, like right now. It's the same thing as if someone came into the U.S. and was like from a different planet and was like, this is now your way of life. If you don't like it, we're gonna kill you. And you have to believe this, and you have to think this, and this is your new religion. the concept is still the exact same thing. Right. And so like that's the in my brain I'm like, it's a human thing. I think humans are just innately greedy.
I
fucking
agree with
evil.
you.
Like,
I agree. Well, and let's also not pretend that colonialism was inherently motivated by evangelization. I'm not making that case. What I'm saying is that because the Christian West kind of won the last 500 years through colonialism and the technological race and everything else, my point is when we look at something like Gaza and we say that's against the rules of war, who created the rules of war? They were created out of World War I at the pinnacle of all these Christian empires, in my opinion, motivated by Christian principles. It wasn't the communists that made any kind of prohibitions against human rights violations. It wasn't Muslims, it wasn't Jews, it was the Christians. And, you know, to your point about what you're saying is really something like moral relativism. At what point do you say, we're right?
Prime spot. Little tight though. Let's play, Jay.
Take a closer look.
You're wrong. It's going to be our way.
God, why are you losing?
First, it's a question of how do you know you're right? And I would say conscience is a big one. As Catholics, we believe
I'm tired of you fucking losing. I'm tired of these goddamn excuses. Get fucking good at the game, kid.
You know, there was like a clip the other day. There's like a lot of these videos now of like, you know, interracial violence. Like
I've had it to hear, dog. I'm tired of your shit.
And one thing that people point out is like brutality. Let's say somebody gets knocked down. A lot of the time,
Been playing this game for 7 years now, and you suck this much.
And the attackers kicking them in the head, stomping them, even past the point where the person's not a threat. And everyone goes, ooh, that's wrong. You know, they shouldn't do that. So we have conscience. We have
No, don't give me that fucking horse shit, dog.
But there's other claims. There's Joseph Smith. There's Muhammad. You have to evaluate those revelations. You have to evaluate the philosophies. That's every person's decision to make. But once you determine what's right, I think you have a moral obligation, actually, to fight for what's right, to fight for justice. Yeah. And to not say, well, let them be evil over there, you know?
Yeah, but that goes back to like who's believing, like whose perspective is saying what is right and what is justice. And it's obviously unique to everyone as far as their driving back to religion, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
So that's where it's like, you know, you could have this conversation about the worst individuals in history and say, did they believe that what they were doing was right at the time when they did it? Right. I would say that I believe everyone thinks they're doing what is right at the time when they're doing it, because that's what we do. I believe people do the best that they can with what they have when they have it, and then, you know, obviously historically you look back and you go, maybe that wasn't the best. But I don't think like, do you think the Jewish people, or excuse me, not just necessarily Jewish people, Israel and the Israeli government is doing what they believe is right, or do you think they're willfully doing what they believe is wrong?
Oh yeah, they absolutely are doing what they believe is right.
Okay.
But that's why I say you have to evaluate the different systems.
Yeah.
And say that in their system, what is their system based upon?
You're saying this religion. You're saying
100%, yes. And contrary even to what left-wing, because left-wing people say it's Zionism, I would say that Zionism obviously is inextricably connected to the Jewish religion. And what the Jewish religion is problematic, and you can even go to Jewish sources. There's a Israeli Jewish historian named Israel Shehan. He wrote a book, it's called 3,000 Years of History. And he talks about how for thousands of years, one of their great theologians, for example, Maimonides, they call him the Rambam. He is considered the Thomas Aquinas of Judaism, like the greatest scholar of Jewish law. He said that every Jew should pray for the death of every Christian.
Shut up, God!
And this is loaded up in the Talmud. It's loaded up in Kabbalah, which is the mystic tradition, which is this intense hatred and distrust, in particular of Christians, but of all non-Jews.
Must be very convenient, dude.
Yeah, I do like
every single time.
I get them to half HP both of them.
Fault, huh?
Yeah, because I'm 1v2ing them and they still don't fucking run over.
They like that the Christian West is becoming.
Can I ask you a question, dog?
Because the sooner the Christian West becomes atheist, the sooner.
This is the part where you say yes or no. Fucking faggot.
Is it gonna be a faggot question?
It's like, so this is what they believe, and this is what is.
Can I ask you a question?
Their government, their
Go ahead.
ideology. And it's even members of Netanyahu's
Do you like being a loser?
government,
Nice.
his
'Cause it
ministers
sounds like you're a
believe
loser.
this stuff. The national security minister, the finance
Making
minister,
excuses.
members of the
And
Knesset.
Not being a man and owning up.
They say it. It's in their the Times of Israel. It's their press.
Is that what you like
It's
being,
in
huh?
their statements. You don't have to look very far. You know, there's.
I'm trying to think of,
I'll give you
of an
example. So
analogy,
one of
but
their
I can't think of
Nice.
something
I
so
think it's
stupid
either,
to compare it to.
Smotrich
So.
or
Nice,
Ben-Gvir.
dude.
There was
Nice.
a highly publicized incident where Jews were spitting on Christian missionaries.
How many things is that, dude?
spitting on them
That
who
guitar,
were making a pilgrimage to the Christian holy
Dead
sites,
Space,
and it caused
League.
controversy. In
Anything else you want to add,
This is the
dude?
Times of Israel. One of the current Israeli ministers said,
Sure there are other
spitting
things.
on Christians, that's
You
an
tell me,
old
man.
Jewish tradition. It's not a crime. They should be arrested for that. It's fine. He defended this. So that's just one example. But, I mean, if you literally just read what they write, it's all there.
So you're saying that they're willfully like just professing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And some of the more tactful ones will look at the extremists like that and say, "Oh, you don't say that publicly," because they want to maintain the illusion that everything is good between us and them.
You don't think that maybe that some of them wanted to not necessarily be that way?
I do. I
Because
think
there's like a lot of that stuff obviously is not directly correlated to how we act or how we are in our regards to religion. And, like it still shifts, it still grows. Like we could talk about Catholicism, kids, and doing all we're like, that's wrong. Most of us believe that's wrong. It happened. I don't know if it's still currently happening. I could only assume so.
Right.
But then there's the ones who go, that's wrong. What the fuck are you doing? They got lawsuits for this. And so my point is like, don't you believe that, even in this case, we're talking about Judaism and Israel, that there are some that are like, okay, this is wrong. This shouldn't be this way. We are evolving.
And there are, and absolutely there are. And I want to clarify, I'm not saying all Christians are good people, all Jews are bad. I would never, that would obviously be ignorant, because
that's insane.
We're all people, and everybody individually is both good and bad. Everybody individually makes good and bad decisions. So it would be ridiculous to say that. But in terms of a system of ideas, some systems of ideas are flawed. And I think that when you compare Christianity in principle, meaning relating to the definition of Christianity is self-sacrifice. Because Christianity is the idea of the Christ, which is giving your life for the sake of everyone, even those that put you on the cross. That's Christ, right? Is the idea that he was nailed there and forgave them, whereas the Jewish religion is based on something entirely different.
Yeah, this conversation is so interesting because we're relating theological ideas to humans. How we show up and how we believe or we think is right versus wrong. And then there's like what action. So, I think it's easy to stand from any position and speak like, this is it. God wrote this, or this is in this Testament, Old Testament. But are people really ever following that to a T? Are they really ever doing that on all sides and all religions? I give so many examples. Like I have Muslim friends that, they pray, but then I see them over here at a strip club, or drinking, or it's so. My thing is like, we're having this conversation right now about religion, God, and the idea, and these obviously, these different religions have these different perceptions of God and what it is and how it exists and how it relates to them, and then human. And for me, I've just always personally been so like, I've been so weirdly like connected, but also disconnected from like just religion. Like I fully believe in God. I fully believe that there's no way this is just.
I'm thinking if like some faggot didn't play Yasway and fucking that other piece of shit, maybe he wouldn't be complaining so much about losing. But hey, that's just me. What the fuck do I know?
And I don't know if we humans could ever get there until they get to the other side and see what happens, see what it is, how they show up, what's next. So we always have these conversations about right and wrong and this God or their God or this perception or that. And how are we really saying this is right?
Well, like I said, it's up to every person to evaluate based on their conscience and based on, I mean, look, the Bible is a record of prophecy, of revelations, and it has also been expounded upon by philosophers and theologians. Just like Islam, just like Judaism, all these traditions, and people, they have a moral responsibility to evaluate those things. Because you're right, everyone is imperfect. Everybody is flawed because of our human nature. We say that's human nature, we mean we have envy, we have desire, we have appetites, we're weak, we're mortal, we die. But we have it matters what we're pointed towards. And the question is the trajectory. What is the ideal we're striving for? And we'll always fall short of. For Christians, we're striving to get up on the cross, which means to die for the sake of another. Selflessness, which is love, which is rooted in a self-giving love. The love that God has for us, the love that we have to show to everyone else. I think that is the best idea. I think that's the best moral idea. Whereas Islam, in Islam, even to get off I don't want it to be a bash fest against Judaism. That's the subject of, the war in Gaza and everything. But even something like Islam, they don't say Allah is their father. They don't say Allah is love. They say Islam means submission, which is different, right? Because Christianity says God the Father. God is love. They don't say that.
But isn't submission to God, to their God, whatever?
Canadians like to pack a lot into summer, kind of like a Harvey's seasoned chicken wrap. Packed with your choice of grilled, buffalo, or crispy chicken, and topped just the way you like. Pack Harvey's wraps into your summer.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Looks like I brought my fist to a knife fight. Honestly, you're bad for the knives.
I hate ads, man. So fucking stupid.
Isn't that also a form of love?
They don't say it that way. They say that Allah does not need creation, that we are nothing compared to him, and that they say that we are Allah's slaves, is what the Muslims say.
But I when I hear submission, you know to submit, for example, in a relationship, or something. Obviously, there's like big ideas, small ideas. Being able to submit into something is a form of love, in my opinion.
Well, Christians, we submit to God also, but it is in a loving sense, in the sense that, our God, for example, in the Christian theology, became incarnate in man. He became a man, and he walked with us, and he talked with us, and he knew us, and died for us because he loved us. Whereas Muslims, they actually believe we're idolaters. They think there's one God. The idea that Jesus would also be God, or that God would be a man, they say is a form of idolatry, because we're idolizing a man, or a different God, a separate God away from God the Father, what we Christians would call God the Father. Their version of God, compared to ours, is distant, impersonal. Our God came to earth to love us intimately, a self-giving love. Their God is distant, is removed from them. It's not intimate. He didn't come to die for them. He doesn't need them. He doesn't want to draw the people, the Muslims, up to him. It's the Muslims' job to submit to their God. So it's a subtle, maybe it seems like a subtle difference, but in principle, it's a very big difference. And I think the fruits are seen in how these different societies have progressed over the years. I mean, there's this idea of the fruit of the poisonous tree.
Yeah.
The Christian civilization has given the world the laws of war, as one example that we talked about. It's given the world technology and medicine, and given the world, I think, a lot of good things. Whereas you look at some of these other traditions, I don't think it's given the world as much in terms of...
What about like the Chinese medicine, like that whole side of the world? There's a ton of stuff that's given the world, I believe.
But you also have tens of millions of people killed by collectivism. You also have, in Islam, Sharia law. I don't think anyone would look at Sharia law as something that is like truly stirs our soul and is compelling to us.
Yeah, I guess it's like, is Sharia law in Dubai?
Yeah, they have it in the Emirates.
I know there's no crime out there. I went there, it was like, you could leave it. I think I left my phone somewhere, my watch somewhere, it just sat there, no one touched it. I'm not saying it's like, this is the only way, but there are things that I remember when I was there, I was like, this is nice. Everyone was super nice to me. I don't know, maybe it's because internet, but there's no crime. I know that.
That's true.
Like,
that's because they're brutal. That's because they're brutality.
So maybe there's something there.
They stone people. They lash people. I agree with you, by the way.
I'm just saying, there was something there that I was like, damn, this is nice. So I guess I'm just having this conversation because I'm just like, I'm so interested in religion. I'm so interested in the way that people connect themselves to God and into their purpose and what they need to do in their life. And it's just also interesting to me because I just go back to it all, and it's, you know, it's written, or, you know, there's prophets, but it's all of human translation. It's all of like to me, it feels like a giant game of like telephone, thousands of years of like, this is now how you have to be in a world that is so completely different than when it was written then, with technology and all this stuff. And it's like, how do you really get it right? Do you think at some point, it will ever just be? I don't think that exists. I don't think it will ever just be.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think you know, a big part of my worldview is that we live on the other side of that. So any idea that things are going to be perfect here. And even in some sense, the way that, like, the language of left-wing people, they always talk in terms of, this is unacceptable, this should not be this way. And it's like, okay, but we live in the world, and as long as we live in the world, there's gonna be suffering, there's gonna be greed, there's gonna be all these things. You know, they look at, for example, our leaders or our system, and they say, if it weren't for those greedy corporations, it's like, you're greedy, they're greedy, we're all greedy, we're all fallen, we're all sinful. And so the best that we can do, and to your point earlier, you said everybody is really doing the most with what they can. They're doing the best from their perspective in the moment. And what's incumbent on us is just to try to get to know God, is to try to know. I think we all have a moral obligation to know the truth and to know the moral truth and to fight for it. I think that's everybody's obligation. And I resent the kind of relativism that says it's all complicated, so to each their own. You know, there's a certain form of abdication. You're kind of giving up your responsibility because there is a truth, there is a justice, and I think we should fight for it, even while recognizing that we're never going to have heaven on earth, you know?
Yeah, I see. It's interesting you said, you know, because I know something you talk about in relationship to our government and Jewish people being in power or having influence. I know you speak to a lot of it, you speak about Jewish supremacy. But you know, just moments ago, you sort of submitted, unironically, to the fact that, like, it's not going to be perfect. There is greed no matter who. But you seem to think that it's because they're Jewish that it exists at that level.
I would say that in particular, when it comes to, because there's two questions. In Israel, I think that the reason they have no qualms about being brutal, there's something baked into the Jewish identity, which is why that is. As far as our system in America, why are Jewish people so influential? I think that has a lot to do with how they organize. You know, because it's without a question, Jewish people are one of the most influential groups in America. And I don't think some people say this, and some people say that's why, right? They say that they're influential in media, government, all these different things, and it's unignorable. And so the natural conclusion that people draw is it's inherent, that they're smarter, or they're educated. And those are two good, I mean, both of those things are true. Ashkenazi Jews do have a very high IQ, and they are extremely educated. And, you know, I know that firsthand because I have a lot of Jewish friends, and they're some of the smartest people I know. Some of the smartest,
me too.
Funniest, without a doubt. And, you know, the stereotype is just true. This is not trying to be glib. They're very good at making money. They're hustlers. They're good salesmen. They're very clever. And I have no qualms about admitting that. But when you look at just how much influence they have and how they acquired it, it cannot be attributed alone to their IQ or their education. I'll give you a perfect example. when you look at the high school standardized tests, I forget the name of it, but there's a high school test. This is an article that was on the UNS review. He wrote, or the UNS review. He wrote a very good article about this. It's called The Myth of American Meritocracy. And he says that when you look at some of these standardized tests that measure math, science, and language achievement, the top scores across the board, they're almost all Asian. Almost all Asian on math, science, less so on literature. And that's why it is Asians that are making up the majority of Ivy League admissions now. So much so that they have to artificially, they call that affirmative action. They have to decrease the amount of Asians they permit into Harvard and Yale.
Let other groups in.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet, Asians, although they're more numerous than Jews in America, Asians are 7%, Jews are 2%. Asians don't dominate media, Hollywood, finance, government. And so you say that Jews are 2,000% overrepresented in admissions into Columbia, but they're not 2,000% overrepresented in the high-achieving scores of high school seniors. In other words, their influence is not commensurate with their achievement, with their IQ, with their educational attainment. And so you would say, how do you account for that disparity? Certainly you would expect that Jews, within Judaism, there'd be a lot of successful people, but out of all of the powerful hedge fund managers, you wouldn't expect that half of them would be Jewish.
It seems like they just went to they were smart enough to go to the right places.
I think you could say that. I think on the other hand, you'd say that they look at
well, that's what I mean. That's what, in the sense when I say smart enough, like you said, this tribalism, this idea, like working together and being as a unit.
Who needs Fiverr web developers when you can build anything you need with AI? I do. Don't get me wrong, you can do a lot on this platform. But when it comes to connecting new components, fixing bugs, back-end integration, and actually deploying the app, a lot of us non-coders need a little bit of help. That's where Fiverr comes in, with affordable, on-demand freelance developers ready to jump in and finish the job. Go from vibe to viable at Fiverr.com.
Is in my opinion, because IQ measures, there's tons of different types of IQs. Right. This is one of them where, working as a team, working as a unit community, I think they're just exceptional at it.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm getting at is like, why is that such a spoken problem for you?
Well, it's a problem in the first sense because they're the only ones that are allowed to. They can work as a team in our open system. So America is an open society where it's illegal to discriminate. It's illegal to do nepotism in some cases. But for Jewish people, they are allowed to do these things. And so you think about how are they able to sort of charge through the institutions over the last century? It's because everybody else was working.
You like being a loser in this game, dog.
Yeah, I just watched my team let me die after I got a guy to 1 HP, and I just fucking sat there like retards
almost
again.
on a systematic level, on a systemic level. And so I think in the first place, everybody needs to
Tell me, do you enjoy it?
Either everybody can help each other and everybody has this group identity, everybody playing a team sport, or nobody.
No. You don't understand. Do you enjoy it?
Decided that was it's also like to this point.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
White people or Christian people couldn't do that.
Teammates?
Are you sure?
No.
I can't say. For
I'll
a fact,
ask you again. Do you enjoy it?
If they were able to do it, and they did it, why don't others? Like you just said,
must be a really weird question.
That's their choice, right?
Oh, so you don't know what I'm asking?
They could have made a different choice.
Right, but I think there has been this in our society. We are
It's a simple yes or no.
this mantra of
Do you enjoy it?
we're a melting pot. We're individuals.
Being a loser.
And here's a little test. If me as a white guy, if I got up and said, I'm going to start a whites only.
Nice.
I'm going to start a whites only community center.
Yeah, I know.
You would get prosecuted for that.
I see what you're saying.
For the things that they do. And what's more, and so of course, there's this aspect of it. They're very tribal, and that's unfair. On the other hand, they're also, and this is maybe the bigger problem, they're also do not have a chief loyalty to this country. These Jewish people that have so much power, because they're diasporic people, what that means, they were banished from Palestine by the Roman Empire. They go into all these European countries. There's big Jewish populations in France, in England, in Germany, in America. They have this identity which is above their national identity. You and me were born in America. You're ethnically Italian, I'm ethnically Italian. But we don't pick up the phone and call our Italian friends in Germany, England, France, and Italy. We don't maybe necessarily have a strong connection to Italy. We don't speak Italian.
But see, like, is that the system's fault, or is that?
In some sense, I don't even think it matters. It's just the fact that it is so. And because it is so, that the Jewish people have this.
I feel like it has to matter if it is.
Holy fuck, that's
now
insane.
That you're Italian, what if you're just like, yo, I'm gonna call you up?
Can you not talk so much?
Some more Italian. Like, that's essentially.
Your breath is
like,
off.
There was no law saying you couldn't do that.
Right.
Right?
And I agree.
I can
There is
smell
no
the
law.
cock on your breath.
Depending on
that's
what
pretty
we did,
gay,
there might
so
be
I don't know
laws
what
governing.
you're
But the reason why I say it doesn't matter is because it's suffice to say they do have influence. How they got it is maybe,
I mean,
let's say, for the sake of
how
this
many nights are you
conversation,
gonna suck
they do have this influence.
fucking what's his
They do
name's
have this
dick?
intense tribalism.
I don't even know
And they're
what
loyal to
Sasuke.
people outside our country. They're loyal to
What's
another
that
country,
faggot's
Israel.
name that you
These
play?
two things, we don't even need
I
any
don't know,
other
you're the one
questions.
talking about
Are
dick.
Yasue.
You must know.
If people that are
Do you
very
like sucking
powerful
Yasue's
don't have the best
dick?
interests of this country in mind, they shouldn't have
Is that
power
why
in
you
this
always
country,
play
whether they're Chinese or Jewish or
and not play
I
Blitz
think
Crank?
about the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, you could replace this name of this country with any other country.
I guess
and
you
most
do.
People would be like, what? And it has sort of been baked into America for it just to be okay. From my perspective, I go, okay, what are they getting? What are we getting? And we always have this conversation around like, well, why are they always say they're our greatest ally? Why do we say that? And you know, a lot of the politicians are saying that it's very dominant. Like, this is why, like, Ted Cruz, which sounded crazy to me because I'm like, if you replace this in any other country, you'd be like, why are they saying that? He joined the government to be Israel's greatest defender, right? He said this in an interview with Tucker Carlson recently. And it sounds interesting because you're like, well, why is it not about America if you're joining an American Congress or Senate, whatever it is? Now, in my mind, I go, you know, like how we were talking earlier about you read something, they want you to react a certain way, but then what's really happening? Is it not also, and maybe you have better insight on this, but is it not also a benefit to America? It's almost as if like it's a proxy state of America that, you know, they have closer access to certain resources that we want as Americans or as America, right? Maybe not as Americans, because Americans, you know, are especially more than ever dominantly thinking America first, what's happening here, fix the homelessness, fix the borders, fix all this stuff, healthcare, all these issues that like people are sort of complaining about when it comes to why are we sending aid there or aid here, why is it not here, right? And I have to think logically that, because I know there's you know, all the conspiracies around, oh, it's because there's this blackmail thing, this Epstein thing, and we'll get into that. But a part of me also thinks, was it not willfully done because there's some interest or there's some sort of expansional idea of like, we're now getting more real estate, we're getting, you know, a safe haven in this region, and this is what America also wants. American government, maybe not necessarily American people. Isn't that not our?
Absolutely, and actually that's how it started. That's how the whole relationship started, is when you look at the foundation of the CIA, for example, they had it start in World War II, came from the OSS, and you had in Italy, America invades Italy. That's a big part of how we got it. What's that?
Can you tell me why you're feeding the other team?
I'm not sure though, off the top of my head, but we invade Italy, and a big source originally of our intelligence network, which was just being started.
I asked you a question, Don. It's a valid question considering how shit you're doing.
Who became a big guy at the CIA later on, he was in Italy running our intelligence.
I think I finally know why you play this game the way you do. You miss trolling ever since we stopped playing Rainbow Six. So now you're doing it in this game. Is that it? Does that explain your shittiness?
And you go from fighting the Nazis in Germany to fighting the Soviets in Russia. The problem is we don't know
Nice dog.
what's going on in Russia because the Iron Curtain descends. They don't let anybody out. They start building the Berlin Wall. And so in the early days of the CIA, they say, how do we figure out what's happening in the Warsaw Pact countries? How do we figure out what's happening in the Soviet Union? Well, there was a huge emigration of Jews leaving Russia. So we said, how do we learn what's happening in Russia? Talk to the Jews that moved to Israel. And so that was a big source for intelligence, like, for example.
Remember when the fire department had to rescue you from the jungle gym?
Goldfish have short memories. Be like goldfish.
When Nikita Khrushchev, he was the successor to Joseph Stalin, he gave a very famous speech in '56 called the Secret Speech, where he criticized Joseph Stalin. We learned about it through a Jewish refugee who went to Israel. And we got that source because the CIA was working with Israeli intelligence. But here's the trick. We were trading. So we got those secrets from the Jews that fled Russia in exchange for our secrets. And one of the things that we learned in the JFK files that came out this year, or at least it was a hint, is that maybe James Angleton gave our nuclear secrets in exchange for intelligence from these Jewish immigrants that left Russia and went to Israel. Now, at that time, you could argue there was a national interest. We needed to learn about the Soviet Union. We needed that intelligence. We needed to fight communism. But 50 years later, these are the unintended consequences of foreign policy. Now Israel has a nuclear arsenal, and that presents a lot of challenges for us. So I guess part of the problem is that these Jewish people are playing a very long game. They're playing a very long game, and they have influence in our country, and they run their country. They also have influence in other countries too. Whereas Americans, because we're living in an open society, we don't really play a long game. We have elections every year. We don't have a kind of tribal affinity. You could say we're very disorganized, very short-term oriented. And I think that makes us vulnerable. I think that makes us less solid. So you could say Israel's a tiny fledgling country with little weapons compared to us. But who's more powerful? A very open, short-term minded country without any long-term plans, without cohesion, without a kind of national plan, or a country that is extremely tight-knit, extremely organized, has influence in many capitals, is spread out and dispersed, is pursuing a 100-year plan. In the arc of history, it bends towards the organized country, the long-term country, as opposed to ours. So my solution is, let's be like Israel. Let's be a more closed society. Let's be a more organized society.
I hear it. So when I think about it, though, and I just use my own personal experiences. This is life. I'm not talking about government, anything. But who I am closest with to in my life are people who have been loyal to me. So if I think back on this conversation that we're having about, the U.S. getting intel, giving something to get something, there seems to be, at that time, a benefit both ways. Like a massive benefit, otherwise it probably wouldn't have gone that way, right? So then you think of loyalty, right? So there is some sort of sense of innate loyalty for the United States to be loyal to Israel, whether or not right now today they're giving as much as they gave us then, as we gave them, as we're giving them now, right? So, because I can think of my life, I'm like, okay, the people that I will still ride for, I'll still be there for, who have been there for me no matter what, are the people who have been loyal, not the people who were disloyal to me. So that's what I'm saying, like, because I see a lot of your messaging, and it's about America first, and I get it, and a lot of, I think, young people also are like, yeah, like, let's stop, which I agree with to an extent. Let's stop giving all of our shit away. Let's stop giving our money away. Let's put it here. Let's fix all the problems here, right? Let's be able to buy fucking homes, be able to do things like we should be able to do at this point, given the economical point of this world. We're living in this the richest time, and everyone's so rich, but people can't buy a home, right? But there is this like loyalty maybe that they have because of those moments. So who's to say when that loyalty has to die?
I would say that it's really a question of
What
who
the
you're
fuck?
loyal to. And when you look at Israel, there has been this relationship for many years, and nominally we're giving to get, in the sense that in name we're getting something. When you look at what we get, it's usually how much we really benefit. Even during the Cold War, there were many analysts that said during that time that the intelligence they gave us was useless. And not only was it useless, it was counterproductive, because they had their own agenda. And we thought that we were kind of getting a bulwark against communism, and they were our aircraft carrier, is what Joe Biden and AIPAC have said. In reality, they were giving us a lot of misleading information to steer us, so that, for example, we would take a tougher stance towards Egypt or towards their adversaries or even towards the Soviet Union. And so we have a relationship. Ostensibly, we're trading things, but it almost goes back to what is really their objective as a nation. If they are truly distinct from us, we're Christian and European, they're Jewish, ethnically and religiously. When they have this long-term goal, they have this ideology where they're deeply suspicious of us, distrusting of us, because of the legacy of anti-Semitism. Are they going to be a long-term partner? Do they have our best interests in mind? And I would say that we must regard them.
Bro, why is he running away?
Like
Like,
suspicion, in the same way that
what
they
a fucking
distrust us,
dumbass.
we should distrust them. And I'll give you an example, which is a little frightening. In 2024,
this guy's asking for
Israel
help
goes to
as he
war against
runs away
Hezbollah
from
in
us.
Lebanon.
That
And
just
they
doesn't even
detonate the
physically make
Patriots.
sense.
Why didn't you help
They
him?
had used shell corporations.
Why aren't you helping your team,
Alright.
dog?
Tomorrow, when I come to pick
create
you up,
these
I'll just drive the
major
opposite way of your
radio
house, alright?
devices for Hezbollah. Hezbollah was buying them from Israel. They're more
But you'll pick me up.
And Israel planted remote-controlled explosive
Is that what you'll
devices
say?
inside the pagers. And the
I'm
entire
gonna drive the
time,
opposite
for
way of your
years,
house, yeah.
Israel was spying on the communications
The
on
opposite
devices,
way of my house
and then, when necessary, hit a trigger
is
and
which
detonate
direction,
all of them
though?
simultaneously. And it blew up people's legs, their heads, wherever they had the pager, it detonated.
So you'll drive to my house
That in America,
I'm gonna drive
and then drive the other way.
companies
No, I'm
are
gonna drive the
deeply
other way.
involved with Israel. Much of our defense procurement and our tech
The other
procurement,
way,
you
from
have
whose
people like Alex
perspective?
Carr, people like Sean McGuire, that are deeply loyal to Israel, that are controlling for commercial and
What's he
military
doing, bro?
purposes
Like-
our
So you're gonna drive to Albion Mall.
Is this the Palantir stuff?
It's part of it. Palantir's only a part of it.
What's
Now,
that
you
Albion
consider,
Mall?
if they can listen in on Hezbollah speakers and then blow them up, you think they don't have an
So you're just gonna
internal policy on
waste
us? Now, it's not to say
gas.
Hezbollah's
That's
not a
literally what
bomb
he's
by
doing,
iPhone,
wasting
You're
time.
just
but would you
you're just gonna
trust
waste
them
gas.
to make your
Is what
iPhone?
you're
Steve Jobs
saying.
Steve Jobs would never, but Sean McGuire.
But they're made in China, though, no?
Well, and look at who Israel's getting into bed with. They're getting into all these supply chains. They're getting into Taiwan. They're getting into Japan, South Korea, where this stuff is made. And you never know where they're going. Because Hezbollah, they didn't know where the papers were made.
Actually says maybe.
And maybe it is. And maybe it isn't. You know, but that's the kind of thing where it's like, I'm trying to impress upon people. It's not even like, oh, we have pagers in our bombs. It's not even,
Bombs
oh,
in our papers.
right. But it is to say, they are a country, we're a country. They have a distinct national interest. They're threatened by us, and we should be threatened by them. Because in the game of geopolitics, it's the big knife fight. Everybody's fighting everybody else all the time. And
Meet the Parks. They make bank with EQ Bank. With EQ Bank, they can open up to 8 different accounts, so they can save the way they want for what they want. Way to grow, Parks.
What brings you to East Texas?
Sophie just moved here from Boston.
Hi, girl. New girl.
What these people are capable of.
It's police, ass. It was just us here that night.
Fucking faggot retard goes 3-14. Literally fucking kill yourself. Holy fuck, dude.
And I don't
Because you didn't do
give them the
your
record
job.
of how they've treated other
right.
countries
Dog.
in particular, and how they've treated us.
You're one of the
They've
worst
perpetrated false
junglers I've
flags
ever
against
seen.
Americans.
Nice.
You know, they've attacked us.
Yeah, one of my biggest
I hope you
things,
know
like,
that,
without
dog.
getting into too
You
much,
got some
like,
work to do, dog.
the false flag.
Get better at the game.
A ton of stuff to talk about. Like, I could talk about this shit for.
The only times you get kills bot lane is when I 1v2, so
one of the things
guess that means that I'm good at the game.
You know, dude,
if I'm,
it's just something called pattern recognition.
if I'm the Israeli government,
yeah, bot lanes are really
in
bad.
this conversation
Nah.
with Gaza specifically in the war.
Whenever I watch you play,
third-party
you lose.
journalists allowed to be in
every single match.
You don't even know what losing in this game is.
You
dude.
lose.
You don't know what anything means.
No, they're like, it's super strict. They don't allow them unless it's
The
like,
common denominator
is like sort of
is you,
with them,
dog.
or there's like
The sooner you accept that,
it's like just they're willfully saying.
the sooner you'll
And
get
so
better
for
at
me,
the
one of
game.
the biggest, like, red
Until
flags of the
then,
whole thing, and, you know, I watched
you're
the interview
doo-doo.
with,
I don't think
with
so.
Netanyahu,
That's not.
obviously
That
the
doesn't.
Boys, they did their podcast.
It's not really logical.
And I saw that they spoke
Doesn't matter what you think, dog. It's a reality.
But they're asking
You
this guy
fucking
about,
suck.
you know, what's happening, and at sort of every corner or every turn, it's Hamas. Hamas is doing this.
Now you either get better or continue to be a burden to your team. It's your choice.
And Iran, same thing he's saying.
I'll continue to be the only person on the
there's this
team that knows
massive
how to
red
play.
flag.
Nice.
If it is exactly what someone says it is, then why are certain third-party publications not allowed to go and report?
In Israel.
In Israel.
Yeah, I think
So
that's,
you're still in
that's
stage
exactly
one,
right. Why are
denial.
they not allowed to report on that? Because they're gonna
That's
find
okay,
out the
dog. I'll
truth.
let you take your time.
So that's, I guess for me, what and this is the thing, man.
So what do I
like, it's
do
not-
when the
I
guy's
can't
1
say
HP
about anyone's religion,
and
belief,
I'm
or
1v2ing and my
right
bot
to a
lane's just
land or
standing
no
there?
right
What
to
am
a
I
land,
supposed to
whatever it is. But I can say, as a logical thinking human, that if we're not allowed,
Dog, I can't play the game for you. You have to understand
You
yourself.
know how to play the game, so
Get some balls. Get some balls and do what needs to be done.
I am, but my team isn't.
Isn't happening, or something
You
wrong
clearly are
isn't
not.
happening with
You
that
keep
being
on
true,
losing.
right? And so, like, I don't have to.
You must
it's not about
accept
Jewish people. It's not about
your flaws.
religion, and I just like. I can't but help see that and know that.
So if you're playing
and see
hockey
that
and you don't have a
report,
goalie,
just
how are you
Google
supposed to win?
And you go,
I don't play hockey.
That's interesting. And those are
So
the
you're a
things that catch
retard.
me
You
up
can
on this
engage.
I
in
don't
that
play hockey.
conversation that
Yeah,
I'm just like,
I don't
it's hard to look
play.
away. It's hard to see that.
I
okay,
thought I
something
was the
here
one
is
who
maybe a
made the
little biased.
hypotheticals, dog.
You're
And
always
it's kinda
asking me
frustrating.
for something, so
Like,
there you
I'll
go.
give you another
Oh.
example. I watched a recent. I didn't watch the whole podcast. Saw
What is your
Joaquin Phoenix
faggot
on
hypothetical?
about
How are you supposed to win if if you don't have a goalie? In hockey,
You be
how-
so good. You be so good that the other team can't get the puck from you,
Yeah,
dog.
that's not reality.
Do you really want to speak of hockey, dog? When you and your team at CI lost every fucking game.
Okay, so
Guess who was the common denominator there too, dog? You're in denial. Your entire life, dog. Your entire life in denial. I'm trying to set you free from the Matrix, but you're too plugged in.
Literally, the only
Don't
people that were better
deny.
than me were provincial
Brock, I'm trying to
players.
save you. I'm trying to save you from the Matrix.
Well,
Don't give in, dog.
I think we need a higher IQ for someone to do that.
If we saw that. Now, right here, again, my point being with Democrats, we've never seen them in worse shape. And how do they handle it? Nancy Pelosi announces plans to bring the transgender castration of children nationwide in her latest attempt to revive the party. Yeah.
How is your office responding to the pauses in gender affirming here in California?
Well, that is something that I'm working for at the national level, and we have, how can I say, are hoping that we can have gender affirming here for our trans kids, and that it's a sad thing for us. I'm not totally. I don't know what effect we can have nationally with what we have.
I keep
going
thinking
on in
it's
the White
Saturday
House
for
and
some
in the
reason.
Congress. It's really very sad if you were there. Outside our door, we have a trans flag. Outside of our door in the
You know what, dog?
Just an idea, but
You can't even keep track of what day it is.
Was interested
You're so lost.
Making
my mom
pictures
I'm
of
trying to save.
female politicians.
I'm trying to save you
face falling off.
from your incompetence.
I have a suggestion.
But you
Instead
keep
of Kristi Noem,
fucking swiping my hand away.
Nancy Pelosi.
It's okay to reach out for help if you suck.
One about Nancy Pelosi's face falling off.
And how am I gonna get help if I apparently suck? Who's gonna help me?
We have the trans flag, as do some of our other.
Gotta start by listening to my advice, dude. Get good at the game.
By,
Yeah, but what help
people on
am
the
I gonna
other
receive?
side of the aisle.
So
You gotta grab your balls and man up, dog.
Okay.
That has gotten them in the position they are in, continuing to double.
You can go to the hospital to the
triple
fucking
down
ICU
on it.
word and
That
ask
is
someone
where we are
in a
with
vegetative
this
state and then
It
give me
is
more information.
insane how dumb they are, and I am here for it. Bring it on.
They'll just say the same thing I've been saying to you all along, dog.
Believe it or not, if you believe the reports, Steve Bannon is reportedly planning.
You know why they're in the ICU?
According to the Daily Mail.
Say that again.
Do you know why that they are in the ICU, dog?
I don't know if this is true or not.
It's because they fucking suck that league.
It's hilarious if this is the case.
You're going down the same path,
But they'd
man.
still be able to give a better
You're
answer to you. So what
going-
does that say about you?
You're going down the same path, dog.
What does that
Trying to
say
show
about you
you a
that they
better
give
way.
better advice than you?
But you are so goddamn stubborn. You're not willing to adapt and change.
We get reports of this. Now, I think that outside of something absolutely crazy, J.D. Vance will be the nominee and will win the presidency, in my opinion. I don't think anybody's even close to J.D. Vance. But, I mean, this is laughable. This is laughable, to say the least, right here. Those are the reports, and I don't know if Bannon has commented on that or not. I don't know if he said anything about it. But that would be a very, very bad decision for Steve Bannon, and he would end up looking very, very bad if he does that. Time will tell if he decides he's going to go down that route. We shall see. Right here. Okay. Here's what I was looking for. Ron DeSantis fires back at the Obama judge who issued a ruling seeking to halt alligator Alcatraz. Operations at alligator Alcatraz are ongoing and deportations are continuing. That's my governor right there. This is the guy that has been amazing for the state of Florida. And if you just ignore his presidential run, which
Oh my
disaster,
fucking god. What
DeSantis
did I just
continuing
witness?
to crush it.
An enemy has been
Continuing to crush it. So we shall see how that plays out. But this is what they have to start doing. Just ignore these Obama judges that are just trying to...
You must study the pro stuff.
Just ignore them and continue to move forward. I forget.
You shall realize your flaws once you study them.
So I'm completely over it.
Trying to save you from your retardation.
As the governor of Florida, he has been awesome. And yes, 100%. And that's what he needs to do. Just stay in your lane, Ron. You're as good as anybody when you're in your lane. That's it. Let's see. Right here, Florida Republicans are looking to gain up to 5 U.S. House seats via redistricting. I keep messing that one up. Before 2026 per the Washington Post. With Texas, that's up to 10 alone. Holy crap. Democrats are furious with the development of Florida joining in on the fun. Like we're at the point where Trump is basically, he's like stepping on their neck after he has beat them down. He's stepping on their neck and just he is no mercy. This is Cobra Kai bullshit, man. Like, just no mercy at all. Didn't know 1-800-DANKY worked for South Park. You know that does look like it really does. You are correct. WWE Pros had a good take on South Park's MAGA focus. They said Dems are so relevant, they're not working. I agree with that. I agree with that. That's essentially where they are. With that said, that's not why they aren't, but it is showing from a perspective of that Trump is just far more relevant to them, but that's not why they're Democrats. It's not. Been watching you since 2017, bro. You're like a brother from another mother. May God Almighty bless you and your family. Thank you. 2017. That is absolutely insane. Thank you so much for the support and allowing me the opportunity to do what I do. That is, let's see, fantastic sponsor today in Halo. So Disney settled with Gina. Yes. Talk about that really quickly. Let me find it. So Gina Carano had a lawsuit with Disney after they basically lied about her. That's what they did. And Gina Carano announces today, I've come to an agreement with Disney and Lucasfilm, which I believe is the best outcome for all parties involved. I hope this brings some healing to the Force. I want to extend my deepest and most heartfelt gratitude to Elon Musk, a man I've never met, who basically Elon helped. Remember when Elon put those tweets out about if you've had a company that's ever fired you over tweets or social media stuff or whatever, he's willing to fund the lawsuit. Elon did that. And this has been going on for a long time now. And right here, actually, no, that's not the post that I wanted. There was another post that had some of the language of Disney that I think kind of puts it into perspective here. Because essentially what happened, right here it is, Disney lied about Gina Carano. Once Gina Carano was fired from The Mandalorian, they lied about it. They lied about the things that she said, and they lied about
You should
her
let these
character.
past failures fuel your progress, dog.
And they defamed her. And here is the release right here. And by the way,
Good work by you not fucking sucking so much at this game, dude.
Disney Lucasfilm settled on
Does that sound nice, dude? To not like be shit at this game? Isn't that like a nice prospect to you?
I wonder what that would
There was
be
nothing offensive about anything she fucking said.
I don't know, dude.
Nothing. Zero.
It's up to you, dude. Be the change, dog. Be the change.
So what, will my bot lane stop feeding if I get good at the game?
Be the change.
What's your answer to that?
Be the change.
Yeah. Is my bot lane still gonna feed after they get
It's a change.
And bending to Gina Carano. So, I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh,
You have to make the journey yourself, dog. I can't do it for you.
But the bottom line is,
Be a man.
Gina feels good about it.
Be a man. That's the answer. Be a man. Be a fucking man.
What faggot fudge packer logic is that?
Know what you want to be a man, dog? Be a man.
Big shout out to her and fuck Disney, you know, for what they did. And fuck Variety for saying that this is ridiculous. Mola Ram says, America, fuck yeah. Thank you. Little Jim Halo says, Crockett being exposed by her assistants. I saw something about that. Chad Layton for $20 says, I found out that I no longer have union protection here at the Department of Veteran Affairs. It suits me. I still go to work, do my job, and go home. So the job like you're supposed to. You mean do the job like you're supposed to, and you shouldn't have a problem. Thank you, Chad Layton. Thank you so much for all the people. You're awesome. So, I'm sorry to hear about that, though, man. So, let's see. Saturn leaning of Mercury says she needs mental care. Is that Pelosi? She needs a lot more than this. You're talking about Pelosi. She needs a lot more than this. How old is Pelosi anyway?
An enemy has been slain.
Big Ounce says that just read up on why the judge
ally
blocked
has
it.
been slain.
It's actually for a good reason. Apparently, the people making AA didn't do the necessary papers and planning to see what happens to the environment. And fuck that. I don't care what the Obama judge does. They could just simply just contact DeSantis directly instead of blocking it. And if it's just like paperwork bullshit, like you think that they would have done that to Barack Obama if Barack Obama was in power? No, not at all. This is not about. It's just like anything else. Like when you're talking about the Republican Party, not so much Trump, but the Republican Party, or any politician in general, they're never doing anything for your benefit. They try to twist things to make it sound like it's for your benefit, but they're never doing anything for you. They're just not. They're always doing something. That's how it's been for as long as I've been alive. No politician, no government actually cares about the people. They're only there to make you believe in the illusion that they care about you, but they don't actually care about you. Loser alter ego says being mocked by South Park is similar to being parodied by Al. He's a weird cat. He makes damn good movies.
Nice job dying, dog.
Yeah, Tom, I mean, if you're... I don't know anybody who watches Tom Cruise because they think he's a good guy or a level-headed guy, because he certainly is not a level-headed guy. Tom Cruise is a fucking psycho. But that's okay with me. You can be a psycho as long as you make good movies. And he is a psychopath. But I say that in the best way possible. The best way possible. Again, here we go. To the nothing ever happens crowd. 13 states have now started the process of banning the use of food stamps for soda and sugary snacks. Huge maha is ready. Nothing ever happens now.
I sent a letter to every governor in the country, and I said, you all are the laboratories of democracy and innovation. We have a chronic health disease problem in this country. My friend Bobby Kennedy obviously leading the way on that. The fact that taxpayer dollars are being used in our food stamps to buy Cokes and junk food and sugary drinks, not only is it unfair to the taxpayer, but to allow that to continue when you've got the health epidemic and the cost of health care on the back end of that, we have to do something different. 13 states, both Democrat and Republican, have now come to us. We have, within a matter of weeks, approved those waivers, whether it's Colorado, Arkansas, Idaho, Utah, Oklahoma, Texas, Florida. They now have, and just yesterday I saw for the first time, Harris, a sign in one of the stores saying no EBT, which means no food stamp can be used to purchase. And it was the Coke section, the sugary drink section, the junk food section.
Yo, what the fuck?
And this is a big change in American policy, and I just couldn't be prouder to lead the way.
As someone that worked retail, I'm telling you right now, this is a monumental shift. This is huge.
Will fall soon.
Holy crap, man. This is massive. And things are happening beyond anyone's full comprehension. Like, things are happening at a crazy, crazy level. Conversations are happening. Discussions are happening. Words are being said. Cancel culture being rejected. And I'm going to play you a clip that is going mega viral right now. And I'm going to play the reaction to the clip because this is the best way to handle this on YouTube. And, first of all, apparently I was about to talk about which is a really weird kind of situation about how I work for Israel, but yet I'm constantly talking about Nick Fuentes here. Can you figure that one out? And what's funny about this is I saw this right here before we talk about Nick Fuentes. I saw this right here, okay? Which was so fucking funny. Okay? It's the best part of it. It's the best part of it, okay? So I saw this conversation and screenshot because Packing Photons tagged me in a post. And dude, like the level of fucking insanity that people have decided to, the level of mental retardation and hoops that people jump through is truly astonishing. So we've evolved a little bit here. And I'm sorry to tell you, chat, but they found us out. Because not only do I work for Israel and Mossad, so do you. That's right. So do you, everybody in the chat. So right here, Packet Proton says, I hope it's as D-Day Cobra says. What Trump really means by this is that his involvement with the island is a hoax, but if that's the deal, he's not explaining himself very well, and he's coming off very badly. This account, Jackie Dean says, the 199 enemy has been slain. Double kill. With a few Jewish super chat whales. Maybe even Mossad or Unit 8200. What the fuck is 8200? Do I gotta Google that shit too? Working hard to keep that group in line. Oh, working hard to keep that group in line, okay? So the super chatters are working hard to keep that group in line, okay? So now we're gonna be you fucking called it, Johnny. Unit 199 is our new fucking name. We're gonna be Unit 199. Let's fucking go. So, it continues, okay? I don't keep screenshots, but yeah, some of Jeremy's whales are notoriously proud Jewish hardcore Zionists, and they don't mind throwing around genocide rhetoric against Palestine and Eric K, you're part of it. Eric K, look at what he said about you, bro. What the fuck are we doing? Eric K's a fucking mod, and now he's getting caught up in this shit. Your team has fucking insane. So now we're Unit 199. And what's funny about this, and I'm not going to say his name, some of you may know him from the super chats, but there is one person in particular that super chats me a lot, and he is so anti-Israel, it's crazy. He's so anti-Israel. He will call me at 2 o'clock in the morning and go on a fucking rant about the Jews. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, man. Yeah, man. But apparently, holy fuck, man. It's absolutely fucking wild. And I'm just like, this is why I reject that entire crowd, because it's so fucking retarded that I can't take you seriously when you just view the most retarded thing imaginable. It's fucking insane. At Unit 199, 1000%. Let's fucking go. With that said, we gotta watch this. Because, yeah, I disagree with Nick Fuentes on a lot of things, but I think Nick Fuentes is spot on a lot of things, too. That goes against my Israel paycheck. But right here, this video on Twitter was going viral. Now, these guys are great, by the way. Is it Carter, whatever, I can't remember how you say it. There is the hunter. I don't know how you say it, but I've been watching these guys for a long time. They're great. I love these guys, okay? And this Fuentes video has gone mega viral, all right? And let's listen to what Fuentes has to say and their reaction.
But there just needs to be brutal honesty. Look, these black people are really struggling, and they're turning into these maniacs.
it seems like they don't do anything right. They're obnoxious, they're rude, they're inconsiderate, aggressive, cruel, and, you know, look, nobody hates black people for being black. If there are people like that, I think that's exceedingly rare, and I don't consider myself one of them. The reason that people have negative attitudes about black people is because most people's interactions with black people are negative. Most people's interactions with black people is when you're stuck in traffic and you see a Nissan Altima speeding down the shoulder. And you say, what the fuck? If everybody did that, it would just be another lane, and, you know, not everybody can do that. But it's like these people have no respect for decorum. They think the rules don't apply to them. They have no respect for society. Like, that's their interaction is they are a waiter, and they wait on a black table, and the black people don't tip, and they're fucking rude. Like, that's most people's interactions, it's stuff like that. They go to the DMV, and they see a black person behind the counter, and they say, oh, here we go. And the person's rude. Now, it just goes to show people are not racist. It goes to show people don't like people that are rude. That people don't, it's unpleasant. People want to be treated with consideration and respect. And it is true that black people are, in this day and age, unfortunately, seem to have very low moral character. It's not even just the violence, although the violence is pretty striking. If you live your life and you know that you're going to be mugged by black people, it kind of colors your opinion or perception of black people, wouldn't you say? If 99% of the carjackings and stabbings and shootings that you see in Chicago are by black people, when you're walking down the street late at night, guess what you're looking for? Black people. And you...
I've been a fan of these guys for a long time because they are very good at listening and not getting offended over shit, and the fact that they're like listening and laughing at what Nick is saying says so much more about them than anything. But listen, man, the thing about Fuentes is, what is the saying in like the Game of Thrones quote or whatever, you know, like it's like she's trying to find someone. Like, I don't care if you like Fuentes. What I do care about is that he should not be silenced. And when you start to silence, you're showing that you're bothered by what he's saying. The man has been silenced more than anybody, more than Alex Jones, more than anybody. Fuentes has been just completely destroyed. And yet he continues to have his voice heard. And he's very smart, he's very intelligent, he's very articulate, he's an amazing communicator. And because of that, that's why he continues to rise above all of the censoring that they have done for him.
Equate that with danger. And it doesn't take a lot of them to spoil the whole bunch like that. And we just want black people to take accountability and say, look, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. It just seems that every time I encounter you people, for the most part, it's negative. And sometimes extremely negative. Like I could get a gun in my face. You know? That's a problem. And people go, well, you are just loaded up with hatred and racism. It's like, I'm really not. I'm someplace, and I see some black person walking in with their pants sagging, and they're can't articulate what their problem is or what they need, and they're rude and they're aggressive, and I'm in fear for my life. Like, yeah, I have a problem with all of that. And people go, and these black people go, well, you're racist, you're racist. It's like, no, I just hate inconsiderate behavior. If black people were super well behaved, we would be racist in the other direction. Black people, yeah. My
Nice, dude.
Hey, I have a problem with all of that. And people go, and these black people go, well, you're racist, you're racist. It's like, no, I just hate inconsiderate behavior. If black people were super well behaved, we would be racist in the other direction. We'd say, black people, oh yes, dude, yes. My day is about to turn around for the better. What can I help you with, sir? Please, come right on in. Man, what a relief to see you here. You're a sight for sore eyes. If black people are known for being the best, then we would be racist in the other direction. Oh, finally. So yeah, that really bothers me. It just bothers me. That's all it is in Chicago. It's just black people who can never
and we're gonna listen to their commentary too. But like this video has 500,000 views in a day. 29,000 upvotes to 200 downvotes. Who the fuck are we worried about that this offends? Who the fuck are we worried about? Because these guys are about to have and I haven't watched all of this video yet, but I've seen their initial response to this. And they have extremely good points to follow up with this. So what I'm supposed to go is, well, there's 29,000 upvotes to 200 downvotes, and I'm supposed to worry about the 215 fucking people that are offended? Well, I don't fucking care about you. I don't give a shit that you're offended. It doesn't mean you can't be offended. It doesn't mean that you can't cry. It means that I don't give a fuck if you cry. And that's okay. It just means I don't give a fuck. You can still do it. You can cry, you can whine, you can pretend to be offended, you can call your congressman, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can tweet, you can go on Facebook, but I don't have to fucking care.
I would say, okay, click that, go click that tweet. Click this tweet. This is what I was ready to say. There's two different races of black people. We have regular black people, like us here, and we have this. He described option B there.
Well, I mean, he lives in Chicago, so I'm sure
there's a lot of them there. Yeah, but there is a difference. Like, I'm sorry, but there is a difference.
Hold on. What percent of us?
It's two different races.
But what percent of us are? I don't know. A lot.
I would say
Now, the reason I'm watching this video is because, you know, this is more about me talking about.
What did you say?
My ADC is useless again, man.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
He's not on the major platforms. But now, they're on the major platforms having this conversation because of Trump.
When will it end, dog?
Doesn't like Trump and all of that. Whatever. Who cares? I don't
When will it end?
We're having this conversation on a major platform because Trump is in power. And
How much more pain and suffering will you endure until you make the change?
I don't know.
Right now.
Once I delete the game, I'm probably not gonna play it again, so that's probably why.
Nah. I would say like
not the majority. I don't want to say a number. What are you asking about? There's 4 black people.
Somebody said it's crazy it took this long. I mean, it's just a breaking of like, you know, people are just fed up. Like, I remember, you know, when I was younger and I worked, you know, a real job, unlike the fake job that I have now, because I have a fake job because I'm, you know, talking head on the internet. But when I had a real job, it's just like, you know, and you were having, you know, conversations with people and things like that. It's just like, you know, you would hear about like certain things, and of course, this is a long time ago because I'm old, but like this was like 20 years ago, and you're just having normal conversations with people, and you hear that you can't say this one word. And you're like, oh, okay, you know, people are. It was nothing. It was like whatever. You know, even though like if you listen to rap music or if you played video games, everybody said that word, but in the public square, you could never say this word. Like, all right, whatever. But then you started to go, oh man, hang on. Now there's a new word that we can't say. Okay, well. Oh wait, there's another word we can't say. Oh, there's another word. Oh, there's another word. Oh, there's another word. And I always go back to the gun argument, and this is why pro-2A people are always like, you're not gonna ban any fucking gun. Because if you start banning any gun, you'll eventually try to ban all guns. So this is why you don't bend to that narrative and that mentality. Because being sensitive to opinion has led us to where they're trying to be sensitive to all words. That some fucking random hippo and then we're just gonna live in a fucking society where we can't say shit because one random fat fuck got offended. And that's the problem with all of this, is that being offended over words, and then having somebody like Barack Hussein Obama that got up there, and again, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. In the 80s and the 90s, there was no representation and diversity. Like, we had all that shit in movies and entertainment and culture, and it was fine. The most famous human being in my lifetime, up to now, I mean, obviously Donald Trump would be that now, but like me growing up, it was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson were the two most famous human beings on the planet. Those are the two, that was it. Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. They were the most famous people in the world. Watching the NBA, full of black people, no one cared. Listening to rap music, no one cared. Watching movies, Eddie Murphy was one of the biggest stars in movies in the 80s. Will Smith was the biggest star in the world in the 90s in movies. We didn't care. We watched Fresh Prince. We watched Family Matters. I watched movies like Boys in the Hood.
Oh, man. It's so annoying.
Juice with Tupac. And, who cares? No one cared about this shit. And then a former community organizer and a one-term senator ended up becoming the most powerful man in the world. And every time there was a police brutality situation, Barack Hussein Obama, the former community organizer and one-term senator, would get up in front of the American people as the first black president, and he would start pushing negative narratives when he had none of the facts to back it up. And all of his narratives were based around police beating up black people and attacking black people. And the NPCs would follow. The LeBron James of the world, who has a fake race hate crime, by the way.
Dying for free now.
LeBron was doing Juicy Smollett shit.
Our bot lane just died for free. That's amazing.
Enough, dog, enough.
Basically came up with, reported it to the police, and then scrubbed the evidence before the police got there. And conveniently enough, in LeBron James' ritzy white neighborhood that he lives in, there's no security cameras to show the fake race hate crime that they claimed that they had. But it didn't stop LeBron James from going on national TV and saying, I'm so scared for my son's life. I don't want him to be killed by a police officer. What the fuck are you talking about? Your kids are more privileged than mine. What the fuck are you talking about? It's insane. So the conversation is happening because of Trump. The culture shifting is shifting because of Trump. People rejecting cancel culture is happening because of Trump. Immigration being completely destroyed, illegal immigration, is happening because of Trump. These are the facts, okay? These are the facts. So I would encourage you guys to go watch the whole video. A lot of you guys, Party AM.
What happened?
Oh, my ADC has no attack speed and is 2v5ing, so that's just fucking amazing, man. That's all I've ever wanted.
Cover this particular story was really good.
Damn, dude.
And it's important that these conversations are happening because conversations are important. Doesn't mean you have to agree. It doesn't mean you have to disagree. It just means having a conversation is important. And when we can't have conversations, then we're not going to go anywhere. And from 2020 to 2024, we weren't having conversations. Remember when the jab started with COVID and all that? Remember what we weren't allowed to do? We weren't allowed to go, well, wait a minute. Why are we putting a mask on for the common cold? Why are we getting jabbed for a flu? You couldn't even ask these fucking questions or you're getting fired and banned off social media. Bringing conversations back. And somebody says conversations don't help them. But what it does, what conversations are effective for is to wake up the mind to the situation. Because the loonies on the left are never going to be convinced of anything. These people are so fucking out of their minds, it's crazy. So they're never going to be convinced otherwise. Anyway, big shout out to those guys and interesting stuff. Normal Man for 20 says, hello, special massage agent Korea. Here is your scheduled massage payment. Hello, Jeremy. I like your content, 199. That is going to get screenshot, and the anti-Israel people will be like, now he's just joking about it. That's what a massage agent would do. It's like, oh, what is that? Motherfuckers. Thank you for my payment. I mean, it's basically
just walking up to him. Fucking tank.
199, baby. We got a new meme. Eric Hellfinger, I hope Kennedy, Martin, Miller, and Rubio are part of the administration. They all need to work incredibly well together. Jimmy Ray says, for the share, get the wall, the share, the wall. Thank you, Jimmy Ray. Greg Morning says, Shalom. I am I'm not even trying to say it, but thank you, Craig Morning. Obey Unit 199. Robot Boots is massage agent.
Yes! Oh my god, dude. This fucking Blitz... Yeah. This Blitzcrank is why I don't play Blitzcrank, because every fucking person that plays Blitzcrank is a fucking faggot retard. That's why.
I don't think anyone
fucking can't even hit a goddamn Q.
Is that your excuse for sucking balls at this game?
And I just fucking read it wrong. And it's created all these fucking memes.
You must break free from the Matrix.
What it was.
I can't make the journey for you, dog.
1990 Wait, so was 1990 Space Movie a Mossad propaganda campaign? Damn, it looks like Mossad funds me and Unit 199. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, no, look at there. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Projecting. Let's see. This is the quote right here. Thank you, sir. When you tear out a man's tongue, you are not proving him a liar. You are only telling the world that you fear what he might say. And that is exactly my theory on Nick Fuentes, is that you have made him far more powerful. I think it's probably wrong to say that. I was going to say you've made him more powerful than he probably would have done, but I don't agree with that because Fuentes is incredibly good at what he does. So this is it's the Alex Jones mentality. Would probably yes! Right now if they would have never banned him.
Guess who just got soloed again, dog?
30 million subscribers right now on YouTube if they would have never banned him.
Take a guess.
That's a rhetorical question, right?
Doing what they did to him, they did make him this.
Why don't you just tell me?
Statement. It's actually a statement. It's not a question.
But with Fuentes,
guess who?
Oh, so you didn't just ask a question?
Saying guess who is not a question.
Oh. Sorry, your mic cut up.
So, Vault 95 says Cobra Cast superior to Timcast. I got Fortnite.
Are you gonna guess?
I got a hurt, by the way.
No.
By the way, you guys have been asking, so I'll tell you, the 199, Unit 199, always to upload a picture. So Krista uploaded a picture. There. Krista uploaded a picture. So there you have it. People have been asking for it. There's a picture of Krista. So there you have it right there.
Oh,
funny. So there you have it.
Let's go.
Big Ounce says, Gamer Me, I time talking people, what is it? Culture people should play by the book. And people have misphrased it. It's not blocking, it's just pushing it back so it can be done properly. It's just all about no, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Somebody in the comments said, Anna, Krista, Paulina. I thought that was pretty funny. So, Phil says, the way I see it is that there was a dam on the culture by the PC police, Karens, and leftists. Trump was the one that broke the dam, and we are seeing the fruits of his actions. I completely. John freaking Murdoch. For 50 says, hey, Jeremy, I must say, why are you getting Hail the 199? That lives matter. And Hail Jack. Hail to you, John. Thank you so much. Unit 199. I'm very happy about this right now. David Phillips says, okay, Jeremy, we need Unit 199 murder in the world. Words involved in this drink.
Well, it's good that he bought it. He's buying a tax speed 42 minutes into
We're gonna do it. Mr. No One, thank you for the gift of membership. Spartan says that the early beta for Battlefield 6 has gotten more players on Steam than any full release Battlefield title. They're crushing it, man. I'm really excited to play it this weekend. I can't wait. Jared Armstrong says Paul Heyman once said that you can only cancel. He's right about that. Razor Burn says
doesn't help that their fucking entire team counters me insanely hard.
I'm gonna do it the way I spell it too. Broken Ovaltine windows. For the brow soap and laundry foam, Pete Truckin Germal, thank you. Max says, tell everyone about the news on the census and multiple states redrawing congressional leaders to eliminate. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Irritating shows they will either by that line. Why not ban high-fructose corn syrup? Yeah, high-fructose corn syrup. Why not ban that? That's a good question. I'm gonna try to read the rest of this shit, but I agree. It's in everything. It's crazy. Your Barmy, thank you for the whales emoji. Low Tech Vikings is more like Eric KKK. Eric Heffelfinger says, Unit 199 reporting for duty. Retards stronger together. You're damn right.
I think I should just play ADC, and every time my jungler comes to gank, I just go to my tower.
Shut your fucking
I think that really worked.
All right.
Fart Fernando says, is it